I think I also need to just put everybody on mute. Let me see how I can manage that. Okay, mute everybody. Okay, good evening, wealth makers, and all our wonderful people who are going to be listening to this video. And a special welcome to Sheila and Jean and Ronnie, who are on the call with me today. So I don't have to talk to myself. So obviously, the main feature is we're reading going through Brendon Burchard's book, High Performance Habits, and how extraordinary people get that way. So I'm just going to launch into reading through the chapters that I've read so far. And if anybody wants to ask a question or make a comment, just, I don't know, put up your hand or unmute yourself or something. So I like the way he is so positive about what are going to be the outcomes of this book. I'm quite excited about this. He says, by the end of this book, you will never again wonder what it really takes to succeed. You'll be starting a new project at work or pursuing a bold new dream, and you'll know exactly how to do that. You'll be empowered with a set of reliable habits that research has shown really work, with a broad range of personalities and in a variety of situations, to not only create extraordinary results, but long-term results. You'll have a new sense of vital energy and confidence from knowing where to focus your energy and how to serve more effectively. And you'll understand how to keep growing after you've enjoyed your initial success. So if you've ever thrown into a situation where you must work or compete with others at the highest level of achievement, you'll know exactly how to think and what to do. So what I really like about the potential of this is it's across situations. It doesn't depend on who we are fundamentally. It depends on managing some high performance habits successfully. And he says, in using these habits, he's confident that we'll have the ability to figure things out and be fully capable of overcoming adversity on the path of success, listen to this, for the rest of your life. So that sounds pretty promising to me. So he says, why this book and why now? Hi, Claude. People want to scale up, but they're wiped out. People are hopeful and ready to make a change, but they're lacking the tools and the ability to know how to do that. And not just to know how to do that, but how to do that on an ongoing basis. So he says, most of us feel a gap between our ordinary lives and the extraordinary lives we really want to live. So gone are the days when our work was predictable and the expectations of those around us were fixed. Change now accelerates everything. I mean, the only constant is change. Your boss, your lover, your customer always wants something new. So the demands are quite high these days. And what you need is a reliable set of practices for unleashing your greatest abilities. And he says you need to study high performers, and you'll see that they have systems built into their days that drive their success. So it's not just dipping in and out. These habits actually become systems. And it's these systems that separate the pros from the novices. And he says what's not working these days is like what we used to live by is work hard, be passionate, focus on your strengths, practice a lot, stick to it, and be grateful. Now, those are all really amazing systems or processes to follow, and that he says that's actually just not enough these days. So he says that began his search for a better way. And what actually happened to him, and he tells us in various of his videos and previous books, is that he had this incredible joined at the hip kind of love affair, and him and his girlfriend went to the same university and then decided to go to a party, and somehow the combination of new boys and drink added to a situation of unfaithfulness, which totally devastated him. And it so devastated him, he wanted to give up his life. He became quite suicidal. And then he saw, just by chance, he saw this amazing picture on a brochure saying, "Great Escape," written all over it. And this picture of a beach and palm trees. And I think it was based on some kind of volunteer program. So he said, "That's for me. I'm out of here." So he went, and that started his life again. But at this place where he was actually starting his life again, him and his friend, who both went on this volunteer situation in this idyllic setting, were in a terrible car accident. I mean, a real near-death experience. He was kind of in the situation where he was on the bonnet of his car looking down, just seeing blood flowing from him, and he just thought, okay, this is it. This is the last. And I guess in that moment, like with most of us, he kind of really reached out to God and said, "But God, please, I don't want to die." He suddenly realized he didn't want to commit suicide anymore. He actually wanted to live. And he calls that mortality motivation. And that's what kind of really got him going to trying to find out. He wanted to live life now. And he didn't want to just live life. He wanted to make each moment count. So this is his motivation behind this research that he did. His motto became live, love, matter. And that's what he says started him looking for answers to live a more charged, connected, and contributing life. And he started going to lots of personal development seminars, and obviously they helped. After a period of time, he had a great job, he had a girlfriend, a good set of friends, and he was starting to become really, really successful. And he'd been practicing this for a while, and then he just plateaued. For 6 or 7 years, it didn't really matter what he did, and it was just maddening. He wasn't getting ahead. And he says there's something really frustrating about working hard, being passionate, being grateful, and nothing is really getting better. And there's something just so depleting about it all. Feeling like you're really working really hard and you're exhausted too often, having grit and getting paid, but not really feeling like you're making a meaningful contribution, and that you're not really making a dent. So he realized, if he was really honest with himself, and I think often we come to this realization, that we're not really performing our best. We're not really achieving what we really, really, really want to achieve. So he started doing some research and asking some questions. So the kind of questions he started asking were, why do some individuals and teams succeed more quickly than others? And not just succeed, but they maintain that success. What is it that makes it possible? And then the other question he asked is, of those who pull it off, why are some people just absolutely miserable, always feeling overwhelmed and exhausted? And why are others just so happy about the journey that they're traveling on? And then the third question he asked is, what really motivates people to reach higher levels of success in the first place? What kind of habits do they have? What kind of training? What kind of support systems? So this work helped him create the world's most popular online course on high performance, the most widely read newsletter related to the topic, and the largest data set on high performers' self-reported personal characteristics. So he makes a claim that they've created the world's only validated high performance assessment, as well as the first professional certification program in this area. And he said he personally has been blessed to train, coach, and measure more high performers than any other organization in the world. And I personally, he says he personally certifies over 200 elite level high performance coaches every single year. So we're not learning from somebody who's just dabbled in this area. We're really learning from somebody who's done the research and not only done the research, he's really applying what he's learned. So he comes back to this point. High performance is not strongly correlated with age, not with education, income, race, nationality. This means that many, hold on, somebody's got their, mute everybody. Sorry. Okay, I think everybody's muted now. So he says high performance is not achieved by being a specific kind of person, but by rather a specific set of practices, which he calls high performance habits. So I think that's pretty encouraging because, you know, if we had to be a kind of person with certain talents, with certain backgrounds, you know, with certain education, then a lot of us might feel like we're just not going to make it. But when you're in a situation where it depends on what systems you habitually put in place, well, then I think it makes it reachable for all of us. And he says, not all habits are created equal. He says there are good, bad, and better habits. And the best habits are what will help you realize your full potential in your life and your career. And so that's what his research has got going with, trying to find out what are the habits that are going to give you that kind of fulfillment. And they found 6 deliberate habits that move the needle most in helping you reach high performance. So he comes back again to saying achievement is not your problem, alignment is. So what's achievable is not what's always important. You have a lot of things you can do. So the central question shifts from how do I achieve more to how would I like to live. So from how would I achieve more to how would I like to live. It's about realigning your thoughts and behaviors so that you can experience growth, well-being, and fulfillment as you strive. So certainty is the enemy of, so he now says we need to move beyond, and I think most of us here are fairly entrepreneurial, so I think most entrepreneurs value freedom more than security and knowing, but he says that's a really important characteristic to have, is that you need to move away from certainty, which is not very common in the normal chaos of life. He says that certainty is just a fool's dream. And he says high performance outgrow their youthful need for certainty and replace it with curiosity and a genuine self-confidence. So I think a lot of people, when we don't really know ourselves and we don't feel strong within ourselves, when we feel a bit vulnerable, then we need the whole world around us to be certain. We need things to be, all our ducks to be in a row. So he says we need to actually get to a place where we feel strong enough inside where we can live with uncertainty and work with that. He also points out technology is not going to save us. So tools, he says, cannot replace wisdom. So too many of us are looking for the right apps, and we lose touch with the real ambition and our soul. So he says, basically what you need to rely on is simple human habits that lead to high performance. So now we might ask, but what is high performance? So he says, for the purpose of this book, high performance refers to succeeding beyond standard norms consistently over the long term. Okay? He says lots of people are improving, but don't always give high performance. And lots of people make progress, but they don't really make an impact. But high performers break the norms, and they're consistently exceeding beyond what is just standard expectations. High performance is very different from mere expertise. So it's not becoming an expert per se in your field. It's actually going beyond that to actually be an expert in lots of different fields, having multiple skill sets that allow you to succeed over various changing situations. So you need to be able to practice meta habits that enable you to excel in multiple areas of your life. So if he gives the example of a Super Bowl winning quarterback, so that should be good for you, Jean. You're probably the only one who really knows what a quarterback is, being the only American among us, I think. So he says a Super Bowl quarterback has to measure mental toughness, nutrition, self-discipline, team leadership, strength, contract negotiations, brand building, and so on. So just from that example, you can see from being a Super Bowl high performer, you have to have a multiple number of skills, not just play the game well. So he says you also need to be really steady and regularly beat expectations. There's a consistency. So it's one of the things that most of us find very challenging. We can succeed in bursts, but to actually be consistently high performing and consistently successful feels very, very challenging. Okay. I'm going to go on now to what we know about the high performers that they have researched. Okay, the high performers are more successful than their peers, that even in being more successful than their peers, they're less stressed. High performers love challenges and are more confident that they'll achieve their goals despite adversity. So it's that they look forward to trying new things and they believe in their ability to figure things out. So they don't always wait for the right circumstances before they go for something, and they don't always blame other people or circumstances for not being exactly right before they make an effort to really achieve. Interestingly enough, high performers are healthier than their peers. They're energized mentally, emotionally, and physically. They are happier, which is quite interesting. Taken together, the 6 habits you'll learn here, you won't just grow in excellence, but you'll also be happier. So the positive emotions of engagement, joy, confidence are very much reflective of a high performer. They're also admired. Their peers look up to them. They're not people who want to be recognized or the center of attention. They actually are very servant-minded. They're very big in providing value and giving service. They work passionately regardless of traditional rewards. So they don't just work depending on what compensation they get. They work because it's a necessity. They have a very big reason why they are going to work hard. And they work because they feel like what they're doing is contributing meaningfully. So this is over and above whether they get a really amazing income or not. And they approach their work in a much more purposeful manner, which makes them feel engaged and competent and very satisfied. And high performers are assertive. They're assertive because they have courage. They have courage to stand up for themselves, but they also have courage to stand up for others. They're not shy or hold back with giving new ideas, engaging in complex conversations, really working hard at a conflictual situation to find a resolution. And they serve beyond their strengths. And that means that they don't just do what comes naturally. They do what's necessary to grow. So if they lack a certain area of competence, they will do everything that they can to gain that area of competence. Okay, they're also uniquely productive. So they get more things done and that are highly valued. So more done, and what they get done is really quality. And they are adaptive servant leaders. They don't live, think, or practice in a vacuum. They're influencing other people's lives all the time and adding amazing value to those people around them. They tend to be leaders who can adapt to challenging situations and guide other people to achieve their dreams, to achieve their successes. So now we're sort of coming towards, well, what are these habits? So they have come up with 6 habits. They call them HP6. So the first one is clarity. The second one is energy. The third, necessity. The fourth, productivity. The fifth, influence. And the sixth, courage. And obviously, through the chapters of this book, we will go through each one in a little bit more detail. They reflect what high performers actually do, not just now and again, but continually from goal to goal. So this book isn't about the kind of habits where you have this simplistic routine that you do every day. It's a kind of habit where you have to be fully aware as you fight big battles, strive for mountaintops, and lead others. That's because the habits that really matter in improving performance are quite conscious. So you're not unconsciously just on a treadmill. You're very consciously, with awareness, using all these habits. And thus Brendon says you have to be very mindful of your footing as you climb higher and higher. They're deliberate habits, so they must be consciously chosen and willed into existence and continually revisited to strengthen your character and increase your odds of success. So deliberate habits don't always come easily. You have to practice them with real mental focus. So if you thought you were going to get off lightly by thinking you just have to practice these habits and you're going to be successful, he quotes this phrase. He says, when you knock on the door of opportunity, don't be surprised that it is work that answers. So it's going to take hard work, but it's worth it. So in improving your life, ease is not the point. Staying in your comfort zone is not the point. Growth is the point, okay? And the data is clear, their research data is clear that these 6 habits will make a significant difference for you, even though they do require constant attention and effort. If your aim is high performance, then you and I will have to work to implement and develop these habits in every single context of your life for the rest of your life. So although it might be work, obviously, as with everything, with practice and learning these systems, things come a little bit more naturally, but you're always having to work at applying them. So just as athletes never quit training, high performers never stop consciously conditioning and strengthening their habits. Real success, holistic, long-term success, doesn't come from doing what's natural, certain, convenient, or automatic. Often the journey to greatness begins the moment our preference for comfort and certainty is overruled by a greater purpose that requires challenge and contribution. And just in case we haven't heard him already, he says, just so that we're clear, there's a lot of work ahead. So he says you deserve extraordinary success just as much as anyone. And you don't need anyone's permission to be successful or to start living life on your own terms. Don't minimize yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't think that you're not good enough. You can do this. You can really do this, and you really are worth it. So, as I said, each habit will have its own chapters. But to succeed, always remember the main thing is the main thing. So it takes some focus and it takes avoiding distractions. Okay. You all doing okay so far? You just got a little bit more. Okay. So he says, he gives us an assessment tool. So everybody who's on this call, I will tell you how you can do your own assessment according to the 6 habits. It's a free assessment, and you get asked 36 questions. Obviously, you need to be as honest. Nobody else is going to look at them except yourself. So be honest, because if you really want to be a high performer, you really need to know where you're doing okay and where you need to grow. I did this assessment for myself last night, and I scored 5.1 out of 6. But apparently, the high performers score 5.67 out of 6. So I've got a long way to go. So 3 of the areas I was doing quite well in, and the 3 areas I definitely need to improve in. So I will tell you at the end where you can go and find this. In fact, yes, I'll tell you at the end where you can go and find where to do this assessment for yourself. Okay, for example, this assessment and these habits will help you know the mindset you need to choose to adapt, the focus to give your passion and the persistence to pursue them, the amounts of practice you're going to need to dedicate to yourself, the way you understand and treat others, discipline and consistency to strive towards your goals, the way you bounce back from losses, and kind of the amount of physical exercise and care you're taking of your well-being physically. So you need to find what matters. And he quotes Jim Rohn, who says, motivation is what gets you started. Habits is what keeps you going. Motivation is what gets you started. Habits is what keeps you going. So high performers do things differently from the way other people do, and their practices can be replicated across projects, across situations, and regardless of your personality, your past, or your preferences. In fact, we found that there are 6 deliberate habits that made most of the difference in performance outcome, even if you have previous great strengths. Okay. They, just to validate this, the HP6 pilot was with over 30,000 people. And Dog's now decided to join me because she wants to play. So I think she'll have to do high performing on her own. We found that not only do the 6 habits combine, so you can be really good at one habit and still be okay, but it's a combination of the 6 that are really going to help your performance to be very high consistently. So if we talk about seeking clarity, you need to ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be what kind of person do I want to be? How do I want to be as a person in the life that I live? What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? What's important to me? What do I like? What don't I like? And then in terms of generating energy, which is the second habit, he says you'll actively need to take care of not only mental stamina, but your physical energy and positive emotions. So a lot of energy, a lot of stamina, a lot of excitement, a lot of, just when somebody walks in the room and they have a positive energy, you really know that. And then when he talks about necessity, think about why are you doing what you're doing? And it's the necessity that creates the urgency. It's the necessity that also starts to create more motivation. It's a necessity that keeps you going when you want to give up. And then in terms of productivity, focus on prolific quality output. Okay? And then developing influence around you, getting people to believe in you, support your efforts, and most importantly is having that servant leadership heart, is helping other people to be better, helping other people to succeed, knowing who they are so that you know what value you can offer them. And then demonstrating courage, okay, by expressing your ideas, being bold. When you don't agree with something, say it. I mean, you don't have to say it in a nasty, reactionary way, but stand up for yourself. Say what you think. And not just yourselves, but stand up for those that are really important to you. Be protective. Okay. So he says, effectiveness in life doesn't come from focusing anymore on what is automatic, easy, or natural. Rather, it's a result of how we consciously strive to meet life's harder challenges, grow beyond our comforts, and deliberately work to overcome our biases and preferences so that we can understand, love, and serve and lead others. And he says the good news is no one innately lacks any of the high performance habits. High performers are not lucky stiffs loaded with a great big bag of strengths at birth. They simply deploy the habits that we're going to discuss, and they do it more consistently than their peers. That's the difference. So you must admit this all sounds possible. It's not about being kind of person, specific kind of person. It's not about winning the lottery. It's not landing with your bum in the butter. It's just that consistently applying some habits that they found are what creates high performance. I think I'm going to stop at this point. Next week, we will go on to the first habit, which is clarity. I'm going to unmute everybody. Let me just get rid of this here. Okay. Does anybody at this stage have any comments, any questions? You're all very quiet. Anything that's kind of particularly stood out for you that you hadn't thought of before? Okay, it's a bit daunting for me to just kind of ask people who, because I know a lot of you don't know each other at this point in time. But thank you very much for joining me this evening. I hope that as we go through this book, it's going to be really, really helpful. I just want to tell you where you can go to do the assessment. So you need to go to highperformanceindicator.com. I will also type it here in the chat box. So it's highperformanceindicator.com. So I would encourage you, I spelled everything correct, yeah. I would encourage you before next week, go and do the assessment for yourself. Have an idea of where your strengths are, where you need to do some growing. And yeah, look forward to connecting with you again next Monday and to us doing the first habit, which is clarity. Maybe even in preparation for that, do some thoughtfulness on your own. Who do you want to be? What do you want to like? What do you want to contribute into life? What do you like? What don't you like? What are your passions? What motivates you? Okay, so again, lovely to have you all on board and very much looking forward to seeing you back again next week. Bye for now.